I want to introduce you to a really interesting podcast. Today's guest has built a unique brand and has talked to some of the biggest names in the business about what it was in their life that got them to where they are today. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is Chris Brandt here with Sandesh Patel. Welcome to another FUTR podcast. I just want to take a minute and just ask you to click on that subscribe button. That is the best way to help the channel. And 95% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed. Today we're talking with Landon Campbell, who is the host of the In Their 20s podcast, where he asks thought leaders what they learned from their 20s. Landon started the podcast in 2020 with his best friend, Michael Holmes. But in 2021, tragedy struck and Michael passed away from an aggressive cancer. And Landon had to carry the show on his own. The list of guests that Landon has had on is impressive. Everyone from Steve Wozniak to Ev Williams to Tim Draper and Guy Kawasaki. And best of all, he does it from our hometown of Chicago. So we're going to talk with Landon about his journey, building a successful podcast, overcoming tragedy, and building a career. Welcome, Landon.
Awesome. I love that intro. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Excited for this.
I'm so excited to have you. You know, I've been really enjoying your podcast, and I would say for anybody who really wants to learn more about you too, your 100th episode that you did, where you kind of talk about your whole journey, is a really good place to start.
Thank you.
But since they're not listening to that right now, why don't we, before we jump into everything else, let's tell me a bit about your journey, where you came from, and how you got here.
Of course. Yeah. So I'm originally born and raised in the Bay Area. We hear about the Bay Area a lot now, the Silicon Valley, because we spend a lot of time in tech, VC, entrepreneurship, obviously. So yeah, those were my stomping grounds. And I was actively involved in theater back in high school as a director mainly, but also as a playwright, actor. So when looking at schools, DePaul came up on my list, high up on the list, because DePaul has a stellar theater program. But, shortly into starting my time at DePaul for theater, I decided to switch it up a little bit, mainly because I didn't know anybody in Chicago. I kind of felt myself just wanting to take the skills from theater and put them elsewhere. So I became really attracted with entrepreneurship and, kind of would end up becoming the venture capital landscape, media. But really, I mean, if I think early to the process, it was taking those like public speaking skills, communication skills, copywriting from the, plays I would write, and just kind of seeing where to put them. And public relations and corporate communications and entrepreneurship kind of were the three buckets that I decided to spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you found a spot to sort of merge all your interests and skills together.
Yeah, transferable skills. I mean, I really tell any 20-something, you don't have to be in your 20s, anyone, also like any age, it's never too late to pivot. But if you do, you need to be very intentional about how you're going to do it. So I wanted to obviously pursue like a different line of work and an area of interest, but I really had to reverse engineer and say, okay, what did I gain from these roles and skills that I can then translate to make the pivot as smooth as possible.
How old are you now? I mean, we're talking about in their 20s. Are you still in your 20s now?
Yes, I'm 24. I just turned 24. Actually, I've been 24 since January.
You've been doing a lot in those short years. We're coming, from a little bit older,
just a little bit
spot. Yeah, a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But no, I mean, I like talking to, people who are younger, because, the world that is being created for you guys, right? Mm-hmm. We're kind of on our, last, I don't want to say last lap, hopefully not last lap, but we're taking the pace car around the track now. But
we've definitely gone over the hump, you and I both. That's for sure.
We're on the other side.
That's a nice way of saying it.
We're kind of rolling downhill now. You're still climbing that hill. But so you tell me, I know this whole podcast was not where you intended to start. You were gonna be filming, something else, and can you tell us the whole story?
Yes, yeah. So I've been busy my entire life, with entrepreneurial activities, trying new things, working. But in college, I ended up having 10 internships, so like involved with like a lot of different areas of work and a lot of different industries. But really became interested in like media Maybe it was because of all the media companies I worked at, like Cameo and the Chicago Tribune, but also even deeper, really got into interviewing. And maybe that was because of the countless interviews I had to get a lot of jobs and a lot of rejections as well. But I found like a area of interest. So again, like the media and interviews, and Michael and I, my best friend and former college roommate and fraternity brother, we decided to work on a web series focused on Chicago streetwear designers, where we would interview them about how they got started, because creatives and even entrepreneurs, founders, there are a lot of people that are overlooked in Chicago. And I think that it is a special place because, we are the underdog, and excuse my French, but, we don't like to take shit from other cities. And if people are saying that, we don't have as many unicorns, or, the Bulls are never going to make it back. I mean, and it's too cold here. I mean, we're the city on broad shoulders. So like we really push through that and prove people wrong. And that's something that I saw from these streetwear designers, whom were creating these awesome pieces, but a lot of these larger companies were just totally ripping off their designs and not giving the smaller streetwear designers any credit. So we wanted to have a web series, docu-series really focused on their stories. So this was, we had a location booked for the interviews. We had, I believe, 14 streetwear designers that we were working with. We had a small team of DePaul film students, and we were using the DePaul film equipment as well, which we could only use because of the film students. So that was a strategic decision. And also, we had like 3 months of prep, maybe even a little more than that. And that prep included finding, sourcing the subjects, having pre-interviews in the set as well. And literally, I remember we were starting interview number 1 this week. And it was the infamous week when not COVID happened, but if you remember, since we're in Illinois and specifically, looking at Chicago, there was 1 week where everything just went crazy, and people companies were shutting down, restaurants were closing, and I remember
March 9th, 2020. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a famous day here because I remember hearing about just wild animals running through the streets, and I wish I recorded more footage because that footage could be used for a zombie apocalypse movie in the future. I mean, literally, you'll never see a street that dead ever again, probably. Unless we get another big outbreak, which at this
there's
point
always monkeypox. There's always monkeypox.
Yeah. There's a lot of those that we got to be concerned with. But so that we had to pause that project, but it was heartbreaking because we had spent so much time really upping our skills with interviewing, and we're just super excited to launch it, and then boom, we couldn't do it.
I totally sympathize with you on that because we kind of had similar origins to our various channels because we were going to be doing this big event, and that was April 29th, I think, of 2020, which did not work out. So we pivoted to this podcast in a similar vein. That's why I really appreciate that story.
Totally.
So you can't do this designer piece that you're trying to put together. You kind of mulled around a bunch of ideas and then came up with in their 20s. How did you come about that? I mean, it's such a cool concept.
So again, I mentioned that we had this energy for interviewing, but we couldn't do it in person. I ended up going home back to the Bay Area, my roots, and Michael, stayed between the suburbs and had just gotten a place downtown. And we were talking every day, because it started okay, maybe we can, continue this in a month. And then, we saw that, okay, it's probably going to be more than that. And there was just so much uncertainty. So we then kind of transitioned into saying, should we do this project virtually? And one of our production assistants said that the quality wouldn't have been as rich as what we were going for. We had this awesome, lighting and brick background that we were going to do. And it was called FUTR as well. Because NFA means impact. And then also FUTR, kind of the double entendre there. Yeah. We had such a great set, and it was agreed upon that the energy for the interview, but then also the aesthetic wouldn't be that same that we were going for. And Michael and I just started brainstorming about maybe starting another interview style project over Zoom. This thing that had been existent, but a lot of people were just now using heavily, during these weeks and months. I always joke around that Clubhouse and Zoom are the two things from the pandemic, and one survived. But we then started considering like, okay, like we had all these internships. Michael also had a lot of internships in college, working for some awesome people. And we decided, okay, well, we gained so much, from those experiences, not just, working there, but also like having mentors in these famous offices, these startups, these crazy cool companies. What if we found a way to, kind of scale that for other people who really are in desperate need of advice and mentorship right now? Because a lot of our friends were losing their jobs. A lot of our friends were, completely like lost in life. We were also lost in life. So we decided to look to, talking to the most successful people about what they did when they were our age, understanding that, yes, they didn't have to deal with a pandemic, but everybody, no matter who you are, at whatever age, has to deal with some sort of uncertainty. And a lot of times it can be personal, but then also much larger. I mean, we have the pandemic today. That's the big thing that all of us have to deal with. But sure, my generation, I mean, it's really tough being in your 20s during the pandemic, but there are countless examples. I mean, dating back to, World War I, Vietnam War, the HIV epidemic. I mean, there are many examples where you have to deal with so much loss and uncertainty in such a short amount of time, and it's so unexpected and no one knows how to deal with it. I mean, starting your life, quote unquote, in your 20s, having to deal with a moment like that where time just is paused and we're all also dealing with it at the same time, so no one knows better or how to deal with it really, even if people act like they do. It's a scary time to be, young in your career for that. So that's something that we wanted to help comfort our peers with a little bit.
And it has been hard. I mean, you guys really suffered through it. Like, I'm sure you probably missed your graduations and things like that. I mean, that's those are big life moments that you never got to share.
I just think back all the plans that I had and people I know had. And, we just were expecting to travel abroad or graduate and, start this job. And then boom, I mean, job loss, confusion, anxiety. So, I mean, going back to my point, I mean, I just don't trust people anymore that act like they have everything figured out because no one has it figured out. And secondly, there's no one way. I'm giving a TED Talk next month and I talk a lot about this. Like, there's no one way to live in your 20s. There's no singular path. Yeah, sure. Things sometimes connect for others better than they do for other people, but there's a lot of twists and turns always. And I find comfort in that because it's something that not only you have to deal with, but everybody has or will have to deal with at one point or another. And again, back to my theater to corporate America, kind of transition. It's just all about making the pivot as smooth as possible. And there are ways to do that, which we can break down in a little bit, but there's always twists and turns.
Theater is a great skill to have in the business world. I think it's it really is one of those things that you can take advantage of in so many situations because there's so many times to present and communicate. Communication is the big thing, right?
Yep.
So you started this podcast in their 20s, which I think is such a great idea because you bring guests on, like really great list of guests that you've had on, and you say, what did you learn in your 20s? That are helping you out today, or like what were you doing in your 20s that kind of led you to here? I gotta imagine you've heard some really crazy and incredible stories and some great bits of wisdom, right?
Oh my gosh, every single interview. I'm kind of on my own MBA track, and so are my listeners. I mean, we're having, every single week, top of the line professors, if you really think about it, that we share on the show, almost a mentor in everybody's pocket. But yes, I mean, it's a great opportunity to be able to share that with people. And I'm a big believer in order to become successful, you have to see success. So I have all different types of people, backgrounds, perspectives, industries, hoping that, there's an interview for everybody. But selfishly, I mean, I get to hear these first and I get to learn so much every single day. So, I mean, I'm having the time of my life. I'm speaking with a lot of people whom I would have never imagined having an opportunity to speak with, but let alone a few of them, creating deeper relationships with that I could have never imagined as well. So it's unlocked a lot for me, but then also deeper than like professionally, deeper than like, relationship wise. It's unlocked a lot for me intellectually. I mean, I've learned so much every single time I open up my Zoom and speak with people. And then even more, the more I think about each interview and kind of, repurpose the content into Twitter threads or newsletters. And it's just, again, it's best described as an MBA experience.
I think one of the sort of surprise benefits that you've seen from this podcast, you're now working at inside.com for Jason Calacanis. And for those who remember the early days of blogging and podcasting, Jason had Mahalo, and that whole thing was phenomenal back in its day. You used to love that whole enterprise. So yeah, I got to imagine you've made a lot of great contacts, right?
Oh my gosh, totally. Yes. I always joke around with people that if I were to ever launch a VC firm, I'd have a lot of cool LPs that want to get involved. But I mean, beyond that, I've made a lot of connections for other people, which is always special. Helped a few people land jobs at their dream companies, working for their dream bosses. I've made some wonderful connections, and people whom have invited me to attend their events and record content with them. Which is really special. So yeah, a lot of lifelong relationships. Not every single interview, which I would really love, but authentically. There are a lot of ones that, stand out as people who I'll be in contact with for the rest of my life. And I want to see continue to succeed. And I'd hope that they think the same.
I've found that myself with, a lot of the people we've interviewed. We've become, close to some of these folks, and, we communicate with them on a regular basis. And it's been, it's the pandemic isolated us all so much, and to be able to do these interviews and meet new people and hear great ideas and talk to cool people doing cool stuff, which is kind of our motto, has just really been a relief, because here I am sitting in my basement again, on a camera again. But it's been great.
Yeah, because now we have the option. Originally, we didn't have the option to not leave the house. But
yeah, just sitting in your basement alone is a really bad thing to do.
Totally. And I've started to host some in-person events as well, and continue to do virtual events. So it's nice to just have the option and use, each of my personas in person and online to kind of have them work with each other as well.
Doing this podcast, because I think a lot of people are, at that stage. I'm sure you get this all the time. People are like, how do you do a podcast? How could I start up a podcast, And, my answer is well, you really need to think about it, because, it's a lot of work. And,
sure.
There's a lot of details to it. But, what for those people who are wanting to do content marketing or, open their brand up and extend, what is that journey of putting together a podcast? What are some of the benefits that you've seen from all that?
So there's a lot that could be said here. We could give a whole masterclass on how to develop a podcast and why to develop a podcast as well. But I'll kind of share the, three major points that I think are common themes within the things that I would say. Number one, if you are going to get into building a podcast, if you are going to get into content marketing, whatever it is, I'm a really big believer in having an inventory. So yes, there are some people that are able to sporadically post content. And yeah, sure, I do that too. Yeah, I come up with tweets, I'll tweet them out, etc. I think most conversations that I have, with founders, etc., could be podcast episodes. Sometimes I'll just click record, and they end up turning into wonderful conversations. There are great tools and resources, Riverside, etc., where you can just make it easy. Yeah. But if you want to do it consistently, consistency is something really important in building your brand, building a podcast, building an online persona. It just means the frequency that you're posting. It doesn't have to be every single day, but it's important to find the frequency that works for you and be consistent in that. Yeah. So we post episodes every Monday, for example. There was a time when we were posting every Monday and every other Wednesday, and that actually confused our audience. So it's not about the volume all the time. Sometimes it's just about choosing a day, a time, and being consistent with that. So the reason I say have an inventory is because, the most overwhelming thing about creating content is creating the content itself, being creative. And sure, you might be able to be creative a few times off, the bat and just come up with cool ideas. But to do that consistently every single time is difficult. So we had 8 episodes in our inventory, maybe even more, before we launched, before we even went public in their 20s. And then we started posting those while we were recording new content. And sometimes I'll draft a lot of tweets. Sometimes I will, pre-write newsletters and keep them, just for a rainy day until I'm ready to post a lot of them. Instagram posts. There's many examples where in order to be consistent, consider having an inventory and being intentional. So what does having an inventory mean? It just means thinking for the future. And there are many different ways that you can do that with like just prep and being prepared and having things just like ready to go. So having an inventory. And then another reason or answer to like why someone should have a podcast or, build, their personal brand is because, it can unlock a lot of other opportunities for you that you would have never expected. I've had a gentle, I wouldn't even call it a pivot, but I've been able to build a brand within, angel investing, the general VC community, relationships with founders that I speak to every single week. This was really from in their 20s or started there. And then, of course, I had another show venturing in VC, and I'm currently building another show in stealth right now, focused on Gen Z founders. But in their 20s is the thing that kind of like put me on the map.
Yeah.
And has given me a lot of deal flow, has given me a lot of new relationships with founders, many of whom I haven't had on any of my podcasts, but just great relationships to have. And I know what they're building. So I think that it's a great way to get in the door with people. So yes, you build a podcast to like have your voice out there and, build a brand, but it unlocks so much more. If you are into venture, it can do things like that I just mentioned. Podcasting is a great way for customer acquisition. If you're a founder, or, if you're looking to just network, there's so many other utilities there. And the third reason, so again, the first being, content inventory. The second being kind of, I guess we'll call it like this web of other opportunities. And the third that I'm just a big believer in is just building in public. We hear that a lot where founders should build in public. Similarly, because it unlocks other opportunities. But I don't think this is like for, I think this is actually for everybody. Whatever industry you're in, building in public helps so much. Letting people know what you're doing, what you want to be known for, thought leader, etc. Because opportunities start to flood your way. And it's very similar to the second point I made, but podcasting is one of the best ways to build in public for sure. Build your brand, build your community. So between those three things, I think that that should really motivate anybody to start a podcast. Again, like just be prepared for the future. Be open to new opportunities coming your way. And be open to like just share everything, build in public. And they all connect. In order to build in public, you do have to have a lot of content ready to go. And that's just, I do that so I don't get overwhelmed. And by building in public as well, people start to see what you're about, what you're doing, and how they can help.
I love that idea. I love the idea of building in public because, like you say, it's, sharing your journey gets people committed to your journey. You get them involved, and then, when you come out the other end, you have so much more, feedback on your ideas and people rooting for you and early customers probably for whatever it is, right?
First of all, man, I'm super impressed by, the fact that you're 24 years old.
I appreciate that.
And you're just, we talk about IQ and EQ quite often, but it's very rare when you see someone that has both. And it certainly seems like you do.
Thank you. That means a lot.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm serious though. So you grew up in Silicon Valley and you then come here and then you become this entrepreneur, right? So how much did growing up in the Valley and that background for you, how much did that impact you becoming like an entrepreneur? Of
course. Yeah. So first off, I'm from like the Oakland area, but still exposed heavily to things in the Valley. So, a lot of these companies that were, making their marks, early, before people really knew who they are. We read today about like the Elons, the Zuckerbergs. We know all these people, but, I was exposed to them pretty early. Not, on a one-on-one level, but you read about them in the paper, or you see people talking about them at school, try out this new company. It's called Snapchat. Exposed to that entrepreneurial spirit early, but then a lot of these founders and early, before you have product market fit, before you have, a lot of traction, before you're well known by the masses and you have billions of users, all you really have is, your story. And of course you have your team and you have the solution and the problem within the market. But what those things are, that it's really a story to tell. So I think that's what really got me intrigued with the art of storytelling and where that plays in the intersection of entrepreneurship and tech. Because I speak with so many founders today and really helping them craft their own stories. That's really a big value add that I've been able to help them with because it's super important. Your story helps with three things. It helps you acquire customers. It helps you, recruit employees, and it helps you, get potential investment as well. So I come across so many wonderful ideas.
And how do you decide? How do you decide, to you, what's your approach when you think about an investment that you want to make? What is it that you see that kind of gets you excited?
If we're looking at something that does not have any product market fit and light traction, it's really new, small team, I think the story is going to be super important because a good storyteller, and again, it's a skill that is natural for a lot of people, but can be taught. A good storyteller or founder is going to be able to, I'm confident they're going to be able to recruit well, which, helps grow their company. They're going to be able to get customers, which helps grow their company. They're going to be able to speak to investors and be very clear about what they need and where they're going to go in the future, which helps them grow their companies. So I think that when it comes to storytelling, yes, again, you can have a wonderful idea, but, at least with the pitch itself, go through your pitch one time as yourself, and then act like you're talking to an 80-year-old and act like you're talking to a 2-year-old for the third time. That's the test I usually give to founders. And that, again, it just helps with fluidity. And when, discussing something, you want to be able to say something, this way, but then also backwards and have people understand it the same way. And I know there's a famous story about, Kevin Systrom, Instagram founder, where this was when Instagram wasn't really anything, didn't look good, didn't have a lot of customers at all. And when he spoke to investors described it as he was speaking through them, not at them. He was really helping them see into the future, his vision. So when you don't have a product really, and when you don't have all these things, that's really what matters in that early stage. And of course, having good traction, having, a good functional product, those are things that add to it. But I'm just looking at the early stage right now. You got to be able to communicate in such a clear and concise way.
You are crushing it, man, with that answer, because Chris and I have been talking for years. Chris, we always talk about the three things that we look for is the people, the idea, and then the sales and marketing. You can get great people together. You can get the, biggest titles and board members and investors and all that stuff. You can have this 10x idea, but if you can't explain it to somebody why they should care, it's going to be very challenging. And it turns out that there's so much cool tech out there, but they just can't explain what their value prop is,
It's kind of easy to say as well that everything that exists today, even if you think it's the first time it's ever been invented, odds are it's probably been thought about or invented before, but the founder just wasn't able to create a compelling story, recruit customers properly. And of course, timing, yes, is really important too. But I'm saying it to, go back to your other point, that the story is super important early on. So I think that that's something that more founders should for sure be able to perfect their skills in.
Chris, this guy's drank out of the fountain of youth or something. I don't know what's going on. This is the
about the talking about your story. One of the things that we always say is that startup companies never have fulfilled their vision when they are rolling out to market and they start making sales. They have to be able to. The customers are not only buying the product as it is today, but they're buying the product as it is in 5 years, or they're buying into the vision of this company. And if the founders can't communicate that vision, then it's very, very hard for them to make it.
Totally. Well said.
I don't want to hit you hard on the Michael side of things. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Well, it's okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable talking about it.
A horrible thing happened, how did you process all of that, and how did that experience change you?
And right in the middle of COVID too.
Yeah, no, well said, because I had to learn how to deal with two extremes in a short amount of time. First time dealing with pandemic, which no one taught you or teaches you how to deal with. And while there are people that, kind of help and have been through it before, I mean, dealing with death at such a young age, my best friend, confidant, someone I was talking to every day, the co-host of my podcast. That's something that, I think is fair to say no one really prepares you for as well. And I think, a lot of the early days consisted of me like pushing a lot of people to the side, not communicating as well as I should have, not wanting to talk to family and friends about the situation, and pouring myself into my work and just all short-term solutions. And, there was benefit to doing some of it. Right after he passed, I was really trying to, get a foundation created and, get his name in a lot of press and publications in Chicago, so he could always be there forever, be cemented in Chicago history. Awesome. I was trying to organize, his funeral, full transparency. And I think I can say this because it's the truth. His family wasn't really involved in that. And I didn't even originally want him. And again, I'm not saying that to be rude in any way, but they didn't originally want a memorial, and I wanted him to have a memorial, and they ended up being okay with it, and were very happy that we organized it. But he was just so important to me that I just didn't want people to I didn't want to lose him and just have people forget about him. So I was just trying to do whatever I could to just keep his name out there, and have people really understand and see clearly the impact that he had. I say all that to say, I was pouring a lot of energy into that. Were there any moments that I kind of just sat down and reflected and spoke to people? Not a lot, to be honest. And when I look back on it, I wish that I did that more, because things would end up coming to kind of hit me a little harder, afterwards. But that's something that a lot of the guests that I've had on, talk about in different ways. I've had a few guests that have mentioned, times when they had to deal with death similar in their 20s, but mainly a lot of my guests have just spoken about, having mental health issues and not speaking to people in their 20s. Andy Dunn, the founder of Bonobos, super successful. Sold his company for $300 million, struggled heavily with mental health, and told me that, he wishes he, did certain things, but mainly, spoke to people more. Because, when you hold things in too long, you end up kind of blowing up a little bit. And I think that, again, there's two sides to it, because I felt like I needed to do a lot of those things at the beginning because no one would have done them. I'm confident about that. And we ended up, getting his face in the Chicago Tribune. We ended up organizing a whole event on DePaul's campus. It was a cornhole for cancer type event that we partnered with our fraternity with. Ended up raising, I believe, $21,000 for his family and foundation. Ended up having a memorial service where a lot of people got to pay their respects and share stories about Michael. And to this day, I still talk about him as often as I can. Use his microphone. Any opportunity I can have to talk about Michael and make sure that people know that there would be no podcast without him, and I wouldn't really be who I was without him as well. I take that opportunity. Proud of the things that we did during the difficult days with that, because again, wanted people to really know who my friend was. But yes, I could have spoken about it more, and because even though I was active and trying to figure a lot of those things out, maybe I wasn't sharing my feelings. It was more just let me put this out there, do this, and being able to reflect a little more deeper these days is more helpful. And that's something I could have done early. I just didn't.
Got to build yourself in public, I guess is.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect example.
One of the things I noticed, especially during the pandemic, I think mental health has been a really hard thing for so many people. And I think that what my big realization from it all is that anxiety drives a lot of people. And, you know, a lot of the behaviors that people have are around, you know, some of the pain that they're going through and the anxiety that, you know, is caused by that. And, you know, a lot of these responses to people, I don't look at them in the same way anymore. When I see, you know, somebody having an outrageous outburst or something like that, I mean, I kind of see like, oh man, maybe there's somebody who's really struggling there, you know, and they're going through, so everybody's going through something, right? So it's good to keep that in perspective.
And I find comfort in that, the fact that, like, you know, someone next to you can be going through something that you had zero idea about. And I think that we should just all be willing to, you know, talk about that a little bit more. So I try and be a little more transparent when I'm feeling, you know, certain ways about things, you know, uncertainty, still dealing with how the world looks today, or it could be career, professional, I mean, other things too. I mean, you know, I'm not perfect. I still, you know, have, you know, a lot of things that I'm dealing with, but I try and talk about them a little more, you know, to friends and family that I trust, or even the podcast. I mean, you know, having my 100th episode, that was, you know, it was completely different than the previous 99. It was a reflection episode. I got to really put my voice out there. Whereas for the other episodes, it was, you know, more just moderate conversation and feature other people's voices, which I love to do and still do to this day. But ever since episode 100, I've tried to add little elements of my own voice, where before we even bring the guest on now, I have like a top 3 things that 20-somethings should know about. And I just talk about 3 things in the news, trends I'm following, predictions that I have, but that are, you know, original to me, or things that I'm interested in. Yeah. And that's something that I probably should have done earlier, but I just started, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much earlier. I mean, being 24, I'm not sure how much earlier you could have gotten going on these things. I wish I was as together at 24 as you are. Well, with that said, though, I mean, like, what's going to be next for you? What's on the horizon for you? I mean,
still trying to just build the foundation right now. Extra important to me. I'm focused on, you know, these large areas of interest. You know, media / podcasting, venture capital / working with founders, and like professional development. And I think that it's going to be, you know, somewhere within that. You know, like, sure, I love working with founders, and I know venture probably makes a lot of sense. So could be working for another firm, or working, you know, to develop my own. But my mom and I always joke around often, like, you know, if Trevor Noah was retiring and like you got offered to be a talk show host, would you do it? And like, I'm like, you know, yeah, sure. I guess like it's great to have tunnel vision. It's great to, like, you know, have these aspirations, but what if something else comes up unexpected, you know, a twist and turn, or a new opportunity that you probably didn't think about previously. So I'm, again, big into building the foundation. I'm big into not being like the top 1% of one thing. I'm a big believer in being like the top 20% in 3 things, which have synergy. Those are the 3 things I just gave. And yeah, I'm sure I'm not going to become like a rocket scientist, because that's not one of my 3 things. But if there's a media opportunity, that's for me. If there's like a opportunity in capital allocation, that's for me. If there's a, you know, even, you know, being able to be more involved with public speaking, I think that there are many different opportunities. But just focus on building the foundation, upping my skills, and building my brand right now.
That's awesome. You know, and I'm glad we got you on before you're too big and famous to, you know, come on anymore.
No, I'll always come back. This is so much fun.
Right, that's why we get you early.
Maybe say some things out loud that I haven't said in a while. So thank you.
I think your story is amazing. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, and if people want to find all your stuff, where do they go to?
They can go to Landon 20s, LANDON20S, on Instagram or Twitter, and intheir20s.com, or at intheir20s on the same platforms.
And I encourage everybody to go check out what you're doing, because it's really, really cool stuff. And I'm so glad I could, you know, we could get you on here and hear your whole story and share it with everybody, because it's really awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah. And when you visit downtown, let me know. I'd love to grab coffee.
Yeah, we got to do that. We got to get out of the basement.
Yep, maybe even an impromptu in-person podcast episode.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if you like what you saw, please give us a like and think about subscribing. That subscription is really the best way to help this channel. And I will see you in the next video.